Assalamu alaikum, my YouTube family. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I am going to teach you about the Shah Waliullah, who is the second reformer we are going to study. So first we have the brief life history. Shah Waliullah original name was Kutubuddin, and Shah Waliullah was his title, basically, which means friend of Allah, and he was adherent of the Hanafi jurisprudence. His birthplace was in Mozafalat near Delhi, and he was born on 21st February 1703, and death was 1762 Delhi. These points are important for the MCQ's purpose. His father name was Shah Abdul Rahim. His father made a madarsa known as Madarsa Rahimia, and he was also a Sufi person and a scholar. So the basic education, the early education that Shah Waliullah took is from his father's Madarsa Rahimia Madarsa. At the age of the 12 years, he completed his early education from this madarsa. Genealogy or pedigree, from his father's side, he was from the chain of Hazrat Umar, and from the mother's side, he was from the chain of Hazrat Imam Musa Kazim. Early education was regarding the Holy Quran, mysticism, Sufism, Hadiths, logic, tafsir, jurisprudence, and tib. Then he started teaching at the Madarsia Rahimia for at the age of 12 years. Then he traveled to Saudi Arabia and got the sanad in Hadith. So what do you mean by the sanad? Sanad means he got some sort of degree in a course of Hadith. His teachers' names were Sheikh Abu Tahir Muhammad bin Ibrahim and Sheikh Suleiman Maghribi. So before I study every reformer, we look at the conditions of the Muslims in the subcontinents, because these were the reformers who changed the conditions for the Muslim in subcontinent. So we during his time period, we are on the brink of political annihilation, because there was a declining Mughal empire. It was the period of Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb was a strong emperor, but his army was very weak, and there was uprising of Marathas, Jats, and Sikhs. He noticed that there was the ignorance about the Quran and Sunnah and incapable successors. Then we have the socio-economic situation, disparity, disunity, disorganization. Zakat system was abolished and interest payments were used. There was also religious degenerations. Muslim don't know the Arabic language and were dependent on ulema for understanding of Quran. So Shah Waliullah was quite concerned for the people of the subcontinent, for especially for the Muslims of the subcontinent. So he realized that what is the main problem. He realized the main problem is the main problem lies in the understanding of Quran. People are not understanding Quran and are dependent on the ulema. So he later on he translated Quran into the Persian language, on which he faced persecution, and his sons translated Quran into Urdu. So I am here give you a general overview that what was his strategies or efforts. Adl and Tawazan. Modernization and socio-economic reformation, introduction of the tax system. He studied Ibn Khaldun. On the basis of the economics, if we talk about the economics, he was following Ibn Khaldun. And then we have the reintroduction of Islam in its two forms. Over the period of the time, people have changed the basic law system, the Sharia system of the Quran, and no one was following the jurisprudence, the fiqh. So he insisted that we should reforms to the fiqh and Persia translation of the Quran, because during the Mughal Empire, people speak the Persian language. So it was very necessary to translate the Quran into the language that people understand, so they can get the proper benefit of the Quranic teachings. And faced persecution from ulema, because they thought that it is nauzubillah insult to the Quran that Quran is translated into the multiple different languages. Ijtihad reasoning should be allowed to solve the modern problems, pillars of Islam, and jihad promotion. Tax burden not on the state, and Sharia over the tariqat. What is known as tariqat? Tariqat is simply murshid and muridi. So he said that we should focus on Sharia system. freedom in religion, and anti-takfirism. He was against the sectarian system, and he wrote books and on the sects, that we should not be divided into the sects. And he identified that the basic difference between the different sect is not in the religious teaching but their religious practices. Impact of the social and political services, ending social evils, reformation of Islamic society, and invitation of Ahmad Shah Abdali, and formation of Majlis-e Muntazima. Representation of unity of the Islamic world, opposition of sectarianism, and revolutionary legislation of Islam. We have as literary services, which is known as Fayuz al-Harmain, Hujjat al-Balighah, al-Insaf fi Bayan Sahib al-Ikhtilaf, Azalat al-Khafa, and Khilafat al-Khulfa, for bridging the gap between Sunni and Shia. So we are talking about here the four basic principles of the economics. He discussed. First, he discussed about the production of the wealth, the consumption of the wealth, distribution of the wealth, and exchange of the wealth. The whole nation is the participant in the production of wealth, so it should be distributed in the whole nation. The first principle is that people living in specific geographical boundaries have the right over the resources of that area. For example, if in the Balochistan, sui gas is coming from Balochistan, so the first right is the people of the Baloch people, because according to him, the very first right is of those people that are living in that specific geographic boundaries from which this resource is coming from. Another principle, he described that all people are equal and no single person in a specific class can get hold of the resources. He has narrated Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq in Azalatul Khifa that equality is better in economics than giving priority to one group over another. Means the class system, abolishment of the class system, that one class should not be superior to another class, or one class should not be economically superior than another class. Second principle is that everybody has right to ownership, because everybody has a right to ownership, because the abilities of every individual is different. Third principle is that any practice which concentrated wealth in certain hands will not be tolerated and system will oppose it. For example, what kind of system? Interest system. Like rich landlords give loans to the poor farmers on heavy interest rates, so this should be abolished. Fourth principle is that balance should be maintained in factors that society develop as a whole. Shah Waliullah stressed on the creation of the party on such principles which will end the outmodel system and build a new system which ensure the development of society as a whole. So he was very staunch supporter that we should abolish the old system and develop a new system that will ensure the development of the society, because he noticed that in the society some people are very rich, some people are very poor, and the burden of tax on some people is very high compared to other people's. So as I was discussing about the economic interpretations or economic thoughts, he two factors responsible for the decline of the Muslim culture. He noticed two factors are very much responsible for the conditions of the Muslim. Many people have abandoned their own occupations and have become parasites on the government. Great burden on public exchequer. It means that many people are burdened on the state. For example, he gave example like soldiers and the people who thought that they are the great learners, for example philosopher, consider regular financial help as their birthright. Means they are not doing hard work or earning for them, but they are continuously getting financial help from the state and consider it as their birthright, which is not good. Extravagant spending of the court, like gifts to the foreigners. There was a luxurious spending by the court, and many of these people do not contribute to the welfare of the society. Secondly, government has levied on exorbitant rate of tax on the agriculturists, cultivators, and traders. The meaning of this sentence, the meaning of this whole thing is that there was tax burden on the agriculture, cultivators, and traders, and there was a cruel treatment with the taxpayers by government officials at the time of collecting the tax. So, this was basically obstacles in the collection of the tax system. Not tax is not collected from everyone. Tax is collected from only the agricultural laborers and cultivators, and it become a burden on them. So he suggests that Ubaidullah Sindhi, writer, summarizes economic thoughts that laborers and farmers are the fountain of labor and consequently of the wealth. One who will not work for one nation would not be entitled to get anything from the national wealth. So here the importance of the farmers is described, that these are the real people that are working for the state and they should be given the equal right from the wealth of the state, and those who will not work will not entitled to get anything from the national wealth. Gambling and debauchery centers should be closed because these evil practices concentrate wealth in few hands. So these should be removed from the system. So he mentioned that those deserve share from the state wealth who work for it. Means remove the extra people, remove people who do not work for the state or play the significant role in state in the development of a state. So remove them and give equal share for the people who work for and actually generate the wealth, such as agriculturists and cultivators and laborers. Working hours should be fixed for laborers so that they should get time to improve the moral and spiritual life. Means he was basically describing the laws, that different laws provided to the laborers by the state, because they are the actual generators of the wealth. Business which concentrate wealth into the few hands and hinder the circulation of wealth in society is harmful. It would be checked. Royal, aristocratic, and luxurious system of the life should be abolished, as we previously described. So basically, he revived the ideology of Karl Marx of private property conception and Das Capital in the 18th century, Shah Waliullah in the Hujjat Balaga. And then finally, we have the tax collection. Tax collection is the right of Muslim ruler, because at that time some people were refusing to pay the tax. Property belongs to Allah and ruler task is to manage it, because many rulers, very many incapable successors were actually exploiting this wealth of the state. So this sentence is for those people. And we have the different diamond mines during the Aurangzeb conquering. So according to him, these all belongs to the creator, and rulers like Aurangzeb are here to take care of them and use proper for the public welfare. Interest is haram. The Mughal emperor king was weak economically, due to which he take loans so as to pay the salaries. There come a time in the life of the Mughal emperor Aurangzeb that he was so financially weak that he started taking loans to pay the salaries of different people. Shah Waliullah prohibited black marketing because these lawlessness resulted in the huge inflation. Another his contribution is philosophical interpretation, like he discussed the importance of the Quran, that Quran calls for the revolutionary system of the life. Who will follow it will reap the same benefits as the companion of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he told the four moral imperatives, which included the purity of the body and soul, worship of only one God through the prayers and other recognized rituals and practices. And he described the concept of self-restraint, dabte nafs. So these were his philosophical interpretation. Coming towards the political thoughts of Shah Waliullah, according to him, all men are equal. All men are equal. Nobody is good enough to rule over other or enslave them. Head of state is like the manager of the state. He takes money from the treasury to pass the life of an ordinary man. It is a duty of the state to provide the means of sustenance. Above mentioned rights are fundamental, and everybody, irrespective of race, religion, caste, and class, is entitled to them. Justice is meted out of all. The state should provide protection of life, property, respect, and other civil rights to all citizens of the state. Basically, in whole this scenario, Shah Waliullah is telling that what a just state looks like, what are the rights of the common man in the state, and how a just ruler, a good governor should look like. He should not be an extravagant spender of the wealth of the state. He should be a common man that rules over, and he is like an ordinary man that takes money from treasury to the past life and always works in the favor of the people of the state. Language and culture of every tribe, sect, and section of the people should be promoted, because as we already know that peoples were divided into the different sects, different movements. So he was very against of them, that we as a state should respect the language, culture of every class, tribe, and sect. So people should not become rebellions against their own state. Like in case of the Pakistan, the different ethnicities, if they didn't get the proper attention, they have become the rebellion to the state. So can be this can be every state is an independent, uh, which should be perfectly free in its internal and external affairs, and every unit should be strong enough to defend itself from some sort of aggression from within and without. In his religious services, the main issue was of Shia Sunni conflict. So he wrote Izalatul Khafa and translated Quran into Persian, and his son translated Quran into Urdu. Shah Waliullah translation state that Hazrat Adam alayhi salam did not listen to Allah's order, hence was taken out of heaven. Meaning, irrespective of who you are, if you are doing wrong, Allah will punish you. And difference between Sunni and Shia Muslims were not religious in nature, but there is difference in practices, like difference in offering prayer, difference in multiple rituals. So it was not basically in the difference in the beliefs. And he wrote letter to the Muslim ruler to establishment of the Muslim rule. So I am going to discuss here the multiple quotations that you can quote in your question paper, like Shah Waliullah vision and his work have left an indelible imprint on the Muslim psyche and helped to shape the Islamic identity of the Muslims in subcontinent. Ziauddin Sardar, British Pakistani writer and cultural critic. This quotation you can quote in the introduction. All reformer motives were to establish Muslim state, but situation in his era was different. He wrote letter to Abdali, which resulted in the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761. As a result, political vacuum was created. His vision, the survival of Muslim state, did not last long because of the weak leadership. This is the quotation of I.H. Qureshi. And now this one is important. This is basically the letter, the content of the letter that he wrote to Ahmad Shah Abdali. In these days, there is no king except your majesty who wields the authority and power and competent to defeat the armies of the Kafir. It is therefore obligation upon your majesty to invade India and crush the Kafirs like Marathas in order to liberate the downtrodden Muslims from their chains of God forbid and the grip of the Kafir remain firm. The Muslims will forget Islam and become such a nation that cannot differentiate between Islam and un-Islam. It is a great calamity which cannot be getting rid of through any power except one that is bestowed upon you by God. This is the letter you can quote while referring to the his efforts to his efforts of writing letter to the neighboring countries. So this was letter of Shah Waliullah to Ahmad Shah Abdali. So on this letter, Ahmad Shah Abdali, the ruler of Afghanistan, really came and fought with the Marathas and got victory. But after that he get back to the Afghanistan, and same the political vacuum, the political power vacuum was created, and weak leadership of Mughals and were unable to handle it. So this is the quotation you can quote either in the introduction or conclusion. This is a quotation of SM Ikram, that is talking about the Shah Waliullah. I was informed through Ilham that I would have to undertake this responsibility. The time has come when every injection of Sharia and instruction of Islam should be presented to the world in rational manner. This is the basic motive of the Shah Waliullah, that to present Islam in the rational manner, translating Quran into the multiple languages, and before him nobody has done that. And second thing he did was use of ijtihad to solve the modern problems. So here I have created the summary of the different his summary of his reforms, Islamic practices. First, he talk about the ijtihad, that we should rationalize Islamic reasoning, jihad, importance of jihad, economy, the fair practices, removal of sectarianism, and balance between four school of thought. Though he was himself the follower of the Hanafi jurisprudence. But there, as we know, that there are the four school of thoughts: Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, Hanbali. So there was a quite difference between the people. So he wrote that we should talk about the similarities and dissimilarities between different thoughts. And his political reforms: struggle against the anarchy and two nation theory, struggle against the Marathas, and six say one over the Najib-ud-Dawla, Rahmat Khan, Shuja'at-Dawla against Marathas, Battle of Panipat 761. We have his literacy work, that translation of Quran into Persian by himself and Urdu by his sons, Hujjat al-Balighah. He discussed in detail the reasons of social and religious decay of the Muslims. And finally, we have here the comparison with Mujadid Alif Sani, because this can asked in exam. So Shah Waliullah was far more influential than Mujadid Alif Sani politically, socially, and religiously. This was because Mujadid wanted to reform Mujadid wanted to reform every aspect of society, economically and politics. And here, however, both has an impact on two big reforms in the 19th century. Shah Waliullah impact can be seen in jihad, and Mujaddid al-Sani impact can be seen in the Faraizi movement. I think I have done a mistake here. It was basically Shah Waliullah who wanted to reform every aspect of society. Mujaddid was basically concerned or trying to reform more religion, and also he was more concerned about the rulers. But Shah Waliullah wanted to reform the every aspect of the society, economy, and politics. Impact, and later on, the both has a impact on two big reform movements. So this is all about the Shah Waliullah. In the next video, I am going to tell you the past paper questions, how to make outline on the question of Shah Waliullah, and how to attempt the full question with quotations. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe my YouTube channel, like the video, and comment if you want a video on any new topic, or want to mention my mistake that I have done while talking or while writing anything. So thanks for watching.